It's the petty frustrations that happen on a daily basis that seem to define one's life. No matter how carefully you plan for a set of activities to happen, no matter how many contingency plans you lay, and no matter how detailed you are about making sure that these plans happen the right way in the right order, there's always something that fucks things up, and never more endemic than in the wine business. Stephen Marisu here for Wine Saves Lives, back at home in downtown Livermore after a long day on the crush pad. And this was going to be our first real red harvest day. And I was up early in the morning with a truck headed up Bear Creek Road in the Santa Cruz Mountains to the top of the hill, 1,300 feet above sea level, to pick up 2 tons of Merlot from Zayante Vineyard, just outside the little town of Felton in the Santa Cruz Mountains appellation. We had brought bins up to the vineyard a couple of days earlier to make sure that our half-ton bins were there in time for the pickers who started early in the morning to fill them up, so that I could get up there about 9:30 or so to get the fruit and bring it back down in time for our crush crew to destem and crush the fruit so we could start the fermentation process. The first part happened wonderfully well. That road up to Zayante is nuts, and I'll do a video at some point in time of this mile after mile of hairpin turns and roads washed out and ancient redwoods hanging out over this one-lane road. It's a glorious and thrilling, too thrilling road to get up to this amazing vineyard. The vineyard was planted in the late 80s. It's rare in California to have an own-rooted vineyard, and then have an own-rooted vineyard that's organically farmed and dry farmed. This is all of those, this site. It's a bowl-shaped vineyard that looks out from the top of the hill toward Monterey Bay, and it produces absolutely glorious fruit. Prudy Fox, who's a good friend of ours and really the viticultural goddess of the Santa Cruz County vineyards, helped to find this site for us, and we've been getting Merlot and Syrah and Cab Franc for the last several years. So very much looking forward to getting Merlot fruit from the site again. We've made single vineyard Merlot. It's also been part of our L'Autre blend. Rainy in Livermore, headed out of town. Traffic, as you'd expect, it's the Bay Area. It took me about half an hour longer than planned to get up to the vineyard. Drive up to the vineyard was fine, no problem. The fruit was already there, loaded the fruit, no problem. Head back down, get to Livermore a little after 11 o'clock in the morning, which is what the plan was. Because we were the only folks crushing fruit today, and because the kind of our contract with the winery they're working with provides for their crew to crush and destem, and then clean up the machinery, which takes hours. You really want to do more than 2 tons if you can help it, but sometimes you can't. They didn't have any fruit coming through the system, so it was just us this time. It is what it is. We get the fruit there. We're prepped. We've got our fermentation bins already. This other winery is getting their crews all set up, and they get the crew, they dump the fruit. It's starting to get a little warm in Livermore at this point in time. It's about noon now, and you don't want your fruit hanging out in the sun at all. But processing 2 tons of fruit through a crusher destemmer with an optical sorter and the like that this other winery has, beautiful equipment, really was going to take about 15 minutes at the most. Until the engine on the crusher destemmer blew up, figuratively. No puffs of smoke, no black clouds, but inoperable nonetheless. So we've got fruit in the system, in a hopper, that moves with an auger, moves the fruit up to a device that drops the fruit into the crusher destemmer. The elevator brings the fruit to the top of the crusher destemmer, so that's all full of fruit. The hopper itself is full of fruit. The fermentation bin that we're about to go into has a little bit of fruit in it, literally a couple of pounds, just starting the process. And the engine goes kaput. And so it's the middle of the afternoon. It's not a particularly warm day in Livermore, but it's sunny. Fruit gets broken up and starts fermenting practically immediately. And so we've got fruit that's, as they say, becoming vinegar, as it were. And we've got 3 half-ton bins of fruit waiting to be processed. And we find out that there is not going to be any crushing to stemming today. That they've got to get a new engine, a new motor brought up from Paso Robles tomorrow, which means that we've got to move all of our fruit inside into a cold room, and we've got to get the fruit out of the hopper. So this crew is moving this big gantry, this big elevator out of the way so it can actually dump the fruit into a half-ton picking bin rather than the crusher to stemmer hopper. All of this stuff is going on the heels of our first day of harvest, which was about a week ago. What day are we? Thursday? It was 9 days ago. Wednesday, 8 days ago, in which the crews picked the wrong 10 tons of Cabernet Franc for us. So our harvest starts auspiciously, air quotes. We made the best of it. The wine is going to be, the Cab Franc Blanc is going to be beautiful, but planning, communication, all the stuff that you'd expect to mitigate issues doesn't always work, and it seems to not always work a lot in the wine business. That's just a picture of a single day in the winery. We did get a chance to rack some Albariño that Beth had made from fruit from the Las Positas College vineyard, tasting beautifully, dry, racked 2 fermenting 50-gallon drums into one full 50-gallon drum. So we've got some dry Albariño. We've got Cab Franc Blanc going about 1,200 gallons of it, actually. So a lot of wine coming online this year, which we're excited about, given that we haven't been able to keep it in stock for more than a couple of months. And our first red harvest is hopefully surviving the evening, knock on wood, until we can process it tomorrow. And we'll go on from there. We'll go out and try to sell some wine tonight in downtown Livermore, and we'll have finish a glass of champagne while I'm contemplating my navel and various other things. Thank you for listening, and we'll get back to you later in the week with some more updates about the wonderful life of a winemaker. Cheers. Drink something delicious. Thanks for joining me in Wine Saves Lives.